Hey guys, what's going on? InsidiousSwede back again here for another YouTube video, and welcome to my long overdue graphic novel collection video. Now, this is going to be a pretty long video. I'm sure you can see this timestamp. I do want to talk about basically every book that I have here. But keep in mind, for those of you that are new to the channel, well, first, welcome, thanks for stopping by. But secondly, keep in mind that like 90% of all of the videos that I make are going to be manga related, and definitely comics and stuff are a secondary interest of mine. But that does not mean that I do not love comics. I've definitely found my, my place inside graphic novels and whatnot, and you're definitely going to see that here in my collection. But anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoy this video. But without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so here are the two shelves that hold my graphic novel collection. This is about 5 years worth of buying and whatnot, so I think it's come out pretty well over that time span. I'm happy with where it's at. And let's start off with the upper left-hand corner. For those of you that saw my last graphic novel collection video, this is basically going to be the exact same compared to that. I haven't shifted too much here, but let's go through it again. First off, we have Batman Noir, or Batman Hush. Really glad to have this. This is an amazing edition about in black and white only, and with pencils and inks in here. So really unique release from DC, and actually I'm a pretty big fan of this. So wanting to get definitely more editions like this from DC. So glad to have that. Next up are the first two Green Lantern omnibuses by Jeff Johns. I actually have finally finished this first omnibus, but I actually do plan to sell these two pretty soon. I wanted to make this video before I actually started to list them online, just because it, added something to the video. But yeah, I've kind of decided that for the most part, and with few exceptions, do I plan to basically read independent series. So for me, this Green Lantern run by Jeff Johns, although Volume 1 was good, I decided I'm going to pass on for now and not buy the third omnibus. But yeah, still glad to have these in the collection for now, just again, waiting for the right time to sell them. Next up is the iZombie Omnibus. Really great series by Chris Robertson and Michael Allred. Love Michael Allred's artwork in here. Looks stunning, and overall, it's a very good story. There are moments in here that I kind of did not like, that kind of lost me in interest in terms of stuff like that. But overall, very solid omnibus. Next up is Grant Morrison's The Animal Man. This is what a superhero comic should be, in my opinion. And funny thing, for the most part, it doesn't really feel like a superhero comic, and that's why I love it to death. Really great series. The beginning was a bit shaky for me. I almost gave up on it, but by the end, I loved Grant Morrison's Animal Man. Great to have that omnibus. Next up is Scott Snyder's Swamp Thing. Pretty good Swamp Thing story. It's actually the first thing from Swamp Thing I've ever read before, so I'm not too familiar with the character, but overall pretty good book. But by the ending, I was just kind of meh about it, but overall pretty solid, especially in the beginning. Next up is Kingdom Come, the 20th anniversary hardcover. Really glad to have this. Unfortunately, I still haven't read it yet. As you can see, it's in its shrink wrap, but this is definitely something on my to-read list. Alright, next up we have Batman The Killing Joke. I only recently read this for the first time, and I loved it. Cannot believe it took me that long to get around to reading it. Absolute classic for sure, but yeah, really glad to have that in hardcover. Next up, we have Death of Wolverine. Pretty good arc here, or short, event, whatever you want to call it. But not a huge fan of course, the death of the character, because as it stands, Wolverine is one of the only characters I plan to read in the future from Marvel. But yeah, hopefully they bring him back soon. If they have already, I apologize again. I'm not too up to date with current Marvel and DC stuff. But yeah, Death of Wolverine. This is the Wolverine Omnibus by Mark Miller. Really glad to have this. This was my first introduction into the character. You have stuff like Old Man Logan and some other stories in here, so really good read. Next up is the Deadpool minibus by Cullen Bunn and others, I believe. Pretty good series, but overall, I'm not a huge diehard fan of Deadpool. I used to like the character more, but now I'm not a huge fan of him, although I want to read him from time to time, which is why I got the minibus here. Next up is Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale's Yellow, Blue, and Gray, of course, featuring Yellow Daredevil, Blue Spider-Man, and Gray Hulk. And nice to have this in the collection, but hopefully soon we see one with, of course, White Captain America, their new, series together. Next up is Spider-Verse, of course, the event book. So nice to get this, and I still haven't read it. I've had it for ages now, but I'm just waiting for some, I guess, inspiration to hop into Spider-Verse. But I heard it was a good event, so I do want to read it eventually. All right, next up, moving on down to the next shelf. First thing up we have is Alex plus Ada. This was a pretty good sci-fi romance title. It's in shrink wrap here, but I actually have read this in the single issues, and overall, again, it was pretty good, so I wanted to get the hardcover. Next up is The Fade Out by Brubaker and Phillips. Really glad to have this, but I still haven't read it yet. It was something that I was picking up in singles and then just never got around to reading, and then sold off the singles. But yeah, I got the hardcover because I heard so many amazing things about it. So definitely something I plan to read pretty soon. Next up is Lazarus by Greg Rucka. Nice to have the first hardcover, definitely want more. And then, of course, a staple in most collections, Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples' Saga. Looking forward to the second hardcover coming out this year. And then we have Chew, volumes 1 to 5. Love Chew to death, cannot wait to get it completed in these hardcovers. And then we have Revival, volumes 1 and 2. This is a series that I kind of like. I don't love it though, so I haven't bought any more of it since these first two hardcovers here, but I plan to get it eventually completed someday, as now it's over, if I'm not mistaken. Here we have the Outcast hardcover by Kirkman, of course, and he's an amazing writer, so no doubt this is an amazing series. I read this in single issues when I was still getting those, and although it was good, it definitely does read better in trade or in hardcover form, so if you haven't started it yet, it's probably a good thing, because picking up the trades or hardcover, you'll get a more cohesive and fluid story. Here we have Nailbiter, which I love this title to death. Joshua Williamson's best work so far, in my opinion. Really love this title, and I believe either it just ended or is ending very soon, so cannot wait to get more of that in hardcover form. Here is Wayward. A pretty good series, definitely underrated in my opinion. It takes place solely in Japan with some amazing artwork here, so it kind of ties my two interests together, being comics and manga, so glad to have Wayward here. Next up is the first hardcover to East of West. I know the second one just came out, so definitely want to get that one pretty soon. Here we have Aphrodite 9. I only bought this because it wasn't that expensive, like 25 bucks, and Matt Hawkins is one of my favorite writers. He does Postal, which, spoiler alert, is my favorite comic of all time, and I decided to check out what else he has done. I tried to get into this, and honestly, it was okay, but I want to go back and give it a second chance. But yeah, Aphrodite 9. Here is Rat Queens, the deluxe edition. Grant Morrison's Nameless, which, again, another series I tried to get into and I just couldn't. Morrison is very hit and miss with me. Like, Animal Man, fantastic. Nameless, it was just kind of weird and I couldn't get into it. And then to finish off this shelf, we have The Nightly News by Jonathan Hickman. So there's, I guess you could almost call this my main shelf, because this is my filming shelf here, but moving down below that, next up we have the first two TMNT hardcovers here. I did not grow up with the Ninja Turtles or anything like that, so I have no nostalgia for the characters, but I'm still glad to own these first two hardcovers. Definitely want to get more. These are the IDW collection versions, as you can see down there, so I know there's some other hardcovers floating out around, but these two are part of that collection. And next up, we have the first three hardcovers to Daredevil by Mark Waid. Now, this will tell you something about me and my, lack of interest in superheroes, but I did not really enjoy this too much. It was okay, but as you can see, I only read the first 2 hardcovers here. The third one is still wrapped up in its shrink wrap. And I don't know, I couldn't really love it like I was expecting to, which is unfortunate, but overall it's still very good. And I know that basically everybody else loves this series, so you can't go wrong with Mark Waid's Daredevil. Next up is All New X-Men, another pretty good series I read in single issues back when it was first coming out, or came out rather. And I don't know why I got the hardcovers now that I think about it. It was a pretty good series, but nothing that I need to own in a collected form. But I have those 2, I guess, for now. Next up is Deadpool Volume 1, and then here's some new releases none of you have seen because I decided to make this collection video instead of doing a haul video and then making this video, so none of you have seen these from at least my collection, but I did get the Thor hardcover here. Love this. In my opinion, it's Jason Aaron's best work, so really glad to have the first hardcover to that. Next up is Spider-Gwen, which I love the character idea, and overall it was pretty solid, but I'm still waiting for a truly incredible series with the character because I don't think what's coming out right now is quite up to that standard. But overall, I wanted to own that because, again, I did enjoy it when it first came out. And then next up we have Star Wars. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Star Wars. I like the films, but I don't love them at all. And so I really was not looking forward to seeing Marvel putting out a bunch of Star Wars comics, but this one surprised me and I really enjoyed it, so I wanted to get the hardcover. Next up we have Scalped 1 to 5. This is complete, as you can see. I'm currently reading through volume 1 here, the dust jackets up here. So far so good. I'm liking it a lot. It's been a while since I've read any chapters or issues from Scalped, but so far I have enjoyed it a lot. Next up is DMZ by Brian Wood. Still missing the last couple of volumes. Hopefully I can correct that pretty soon. And then moving down here we have, in my opinion, one of the greatest comics ever written, Invincible. Truly a phenomenal series. I was not expecting that whatsoever. I got volume 1 on a whim because I heard so many good things about it, but I truly wasn't expecting to love it. But yeah, an amazing series here, guys. Only negative, I don't know why this one had to be purple. That is driving me crazy in my spine continuity, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, still love Invincible. Have hardcovers 1 to 10. Next up, we have some of the newer Valiant series. Now, I will do a kind of a plug or promotion here, but I do watch the Omnibros podcast or, YouTube show, whatever you want to call it, and they actually inspired me to hop into Valiant, and so far I've been impressed with Harbinger here. As you can see, that so far I am into it. Although I heard amazing things about X-O Manowar, which is my next read, but I figured from what they said that I should start off with Harbinger and then go into X-O Manowar. But yeah, picked those up based off of their live show. Next up, I have Sweet Tooth by Jeff Lemire, the complete series. I was waiting to complete this before I start reading it, and I got book 3 here literally like 4 days ago. So now that I have the complete series, I'm going to read it very soon. Here is Warren Ellis's Ocean Orbiter, a 2-in-1 hardcover that was pretty good, and honestly one of my first ever graphic novels, so kind of have a lot of nostalgia there. And then here's Peter Panzerfaust hardcover, which actually another thing that I heard from them, apparently this did not sell enough copies, so unfortunately we're not going to get any more, but still really good read. Maybe pick it up in trade or however you want to get it in singles maybe. But yeah, really good first volume here. Unfortunate that it did not sell enough copies to warrant more hardcover printings. But yeah, moving on to shelf number 2 now. Starting off here, we have some of the Earth 1 series. We have Superman Earth 1 by J. Michael Straczynski. This one was pretty good. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. But yeah, glad to own that. And then here's Batman Earth 1, something I still haven't hopped into yet, unfortunately. But yeah, I've heard amazing things about this. Jeff Johns is one of my favorite writers of all time, so I'm expecting to love it. And then after that, we have Arkham Knight, which is apparently a prequel to the video game, which I haven't played, so I have no idea how well it ties into that. But overall, as a single book, I did enjoy it. I think there is a second volume out, but I never picked it up, and I have no intentions of doing so. Here is my small, I guess you could say, New 52 collection. We have Aquaman 1 to 6. One of the best things in New 52, in my opinion. I really enjoyed Aquaman from the New 52. He became one of my favorite characters, and of course, with Jeff Johns writing, it was absolutely brilliant. So glad to own these, and I still do have my single issues. I don't think I could part with those, but yeah, have them in a hardcover as well. And then of course we have Batman, the other amazing series to come out of the New 52. Capullo and Scott Snyder coming together to write the best Batman stories I've ever seen. The Killing Joke was great, but for, you know, a modern Batman series, I don't think we could have asked for anything better than Batman with those two creators. I still haven't got book 9 because most of that is just like side stuff, and it has nothing to do with the main run. But yeah, so in my opinion, New 52 Batman was from volume 1 to volume 8, or like issue 50 or something like that. So glad to have these. Definitely something that I can reread over and over again. Here we have Brian Azzarello's Joker, which, by the way, this might be the best cover I've ever seen for a comic. Love that. And after that, we have Batman Europa, which was okay for a mini-series, but nothing that I would say is a must-read. Getting that back in. Next up, here is kind of like the end of, I believe, the New 52, and then like start of Rebirth. So right here we have Superman, the final days of Superman, Superman, Lois and Clark, and then further into here we have the first volume of Superman Rebirth. Now I was told to read it Lois and Clark, Final Days, and then volume 1, but I still haven't done that yet. But I do plan to eventually, because I've been waiting a long time to hear something good about a Superman series, and I did hear amazing things about the end of the New 52 stuff, and then the beginning of Rebirth. So looking forward to that for sure. But other than that, I also have Aquaman here, which was okay. It did not blow me away by any means, but it was pretty solid. Batman here I haven't read yet, and then The Flash. This was good. I gotta say, this was really good, and looking forward to reading more of that. So there's my tiny Rebirth collection. Eventually, of course, it'll get bigger, but by no means will it get, you know, anything crazy. But yeah, have those. Next up, I have the 2 volumes that cover the Batman Eternal weekly series. Pretty good overall. I read it when it originally came out and decided to get the trades when those released, so nice to have that. Next up, I have the first 2 volumes of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing here, and I want to get the rest of them. Unfortunately, the hardcovers are basically out of print, so I had to settle for the trades, but still glad to have those. Here is volume 1 to Wolverine for the Epic collection. I'm a big fan of the classic Wolverine. Although it is a lot different, I still enjoy it, so glad to have that. Have the first 2 Ultimate Spider-Man volumes here, and then the kind of like a mini series to the Death of Wolverine here, the Logan Legacy. That was okay, but honestly, I should probably sell it off because it wasn't that great, and I'm not going to reread it again. All right, moving down. Next shelf here, more hardcovers. Next up, we have Irredeemable. Again, kind of another reference to the Omni Bros. Got that because of all the great things I heard about it from that show, so looking forward to getting into that. Next up, we have Samurai, the Heart of the Prophet. Actually did a review on this series. Pretty good standalone samurai story. The artwork is incredible, and something that I'm glad to own. Next up, we have Avengers, Rage of Ultron here, pretty short series. And then the first hardcover, whatever you want to say, to the first issue or book 1 of Dark Knight 3, The Master Race. Definitely want to get more of those. I heard that it was wrapping up or completed now, so I should be getting the rest of it pretty soon. Here we have the first BPRD hardcover, which is something that I haven't started yet, but the main reason is because I believe, like, what is it, volume 3, that's ridiculously out of print, so I don't want to hop into BPRD then have to like get the trades for it. So hopefully one day I can find the rest of this series for a good deal, and then I'll start it. But yeah, definitely want to get into it eventually. Next up is High Crimes by Ibrahim Mustafa. This was incredible, guys. If you haven't checked out High Crimes yet, you're missing out. It's truly an amazing series. I was not expecting to like it this much. But yeah, nice to have that in hardcover, because it was originally a digital print online, but Dark Horse picked it up and put out a pretty nice looking hardcover for it as well. So yeah, really glad to have that. Kind of like a whole crime espionage thriller taking place on Mount Everest. So really great stuff there. Next up is Kieran Gillian and Canon White's Uber, or whatever you want to call it here. Yeah, I don't know why I bought this. I tried to read it, just wasn't really my thing. Here we have Southern Bastards by Jason Aaron and Jason Latour. Really incredible series. Amazing artwork, amazing story based in a small town. Really great stuff there. The Last Broadcast. Currently reading it, just started it not too long ago. Pretty good so far. Then here's Lantern City, also by Archaea, which, by the way, Archaea puts out some of the best hardcovers I've ever seen, so looking forward to getting more stuff from them in these nice, beautiful editions. But yeah, Lantern City was a pretty unique idea, kind of reminded me of BioShock a little bit, but great story, liked the ending, so pretty solid 2-volume series here. Next up we have Feathers, which I haven't started yet. It was a pretty new pickup. I got it the same day that I got the final volume to Sweet Tooth down there. So yeah, nice to have that. Here's Lock and Key volumes 1 to 3. First Baltimore volume here that's still in its shrink wrap. Just another series that I haven't gotten around to yet. Here's American Vampire volumes 1 and 2, and then Scott Snyder's The Wake. And as with everybody else, the beginning was amazing. The second half absolutely tanked, for me at least. Which is unfortunate because of, again, how great the beginning was, but still want to own the volume because of how good the first half is. Next up is Dark Knight by Paul Dini, and again, as you can see, a pretty new pickup here, still in its shrink wrap, so haven't read that yet. Here is the Think Tank hardcover to Volume 1. This is actually limited print, limited to 1,000 copies down there, so glad to have that again. Huge fan of Matt Hawkins. Here are the first 2 volumes of The Runaways. Looking forward to getting Volume 3 and then getting into the series. Here's a pretty underrated series by Vertigo, Northlanders. Really, really great Viking series. This is actually the re-released copies, and looking forward to getting the rest of those because of how much I have enjoyed it so far. If I can get it back in. There we go. And then right here we have I Kill the Giants, which is an absolute classic that, again, is something new to the collection and something I hope to get into pretty soon. All right, moving down, we have my trade shelf, if you will. This is the only part of my collection that's actually in alphabetic order. So getting into it, The Beauty, Volume 1, the first 4 volumes of Birthright, also by Joshua Williamson, which has been pretty good, but it's pretty slow as well. So I'm looking forward to rereading it in trade now that I have officially given up single issues. The Black Monday Murders, another new pickup in the collection, so looking forward to hopping into that. Here's Black Road, something I'm currently reading. Black Science 1 to 3. Copperhead. Now, this was a very good start to a new series a couple years ago, and it's been on like delay or something for a long time. I heard it was coming back soon, but I have no idea if that's true, but hopefully it does because the first volume was amazing. Here's Cowl, Volume 1, and then the first 2 volumes to Criminal. Deadly Class, which I have this, but as you'll see in a little bit, I did get an upgrade. Here's Eden's Fall, again, another thing by Matt Hawkins, and also Brian Hill, who's now currently writing the Postal series by himself, and I think he's doing an amazing job. Brian Hill definitely has carried that series incredibly proficiently and keeping his standards high up to Matt Hawkins, which is hard to do. And yeah, but anyways, we'll get into that in just a second with my Postal volumes. Here we have The Fix, which I decided to give a shot because of how cheap Image #1s are, so we'll see what that one's all about. Here is Generation Zero by Valiant, kind of a new series. Great Pacific, did not like that one too much. Ghosted, which apparently is phenomenal, so I'm looking forward to it. Again, another series by Joshua Williamson, just something I haven't gotten into yet though. Next up is I Hate Fairyland. This is an amazing series by Scotty Young. I just got it not too long ago, so really glad to have that. Killer Be Killed, one of the best first volumes I have ever read. Amazing, amazing new series by Brubaker and Phillips, so glad to have that. Here's Monstrous. Really thick trade, as you can see, absolutely huge, incredible artwork, and the story is arguably even better, so glad to have Monstrous Volume 1. Here's Jolie Jones' Lady Killer, Letter 44, which is a book I couldn't get into, unfortunately. Here's Low by Rick Remender, which is, you know, it was pretty good. I want to give it another shot, as it's, you know, I've heard so many amazing things about it, but this first volume didn't blow me away like I was hoping it would, you know, do. Manhattan Projects, yeah, you know, I've heard incredible things about it. There's some hardcovers out that I was eyeing, but the first volume didn't impress me enough, so hopefully I'll get the second trade and then make it a final decision on the series. Manifest Destiny 1 and 2. Strong start to a series. I haven't read it in a while, but overall, very unique idea. Nailbiter, here are the trades, which I was picking up before, of course, I knew about the hardcover or before it was announced. But yeah, Nailbiter, again, an amazing series. Same kind of deal here with Outcast 1 to 3. And then Paper Girls, which is Brian K. Vaughan's, you know, not secondary series to Saga, because it's also very good, but definitely not quite to the level of Saga, but still very strong as a standalone series. Next up, here is Postal, and here is what I was talking about earlier. Matt Hawkins started Postal, and then somewhere right around, I think it was 3 or 4, he gave off the writing completely to Brian Hill, and now Matt Hawkins kind of takes over the role of like a supervisor, so Brian Hill will write out the script, and then he'll give it to Matt Hawkins for him to check and go over. And, you know, despite that fact, it's been amazing all the way through. Again, it's the best comic I've ever read by far. If you have not read Postal, you're missing out. It truly is an amazing read, and I hope that everybody out there I know keeps reading it, because I don't want it to get canceled by Top Cow. Anyways, next up we have Saga, 1 to 5. The Sheriff of Babylon, an amazing series, have volumes 1 and 2 here. Here's Voracious, another very good, unique series about serving dinosaur food and time travel. Really glad I got this one. Next up is We Can Never Go Home by Black Mask. Another new pickup for me that I haven't started yet. Here is The Wicked and the Divine. I might be the only person on planet Earth that does not like this, but again, I don't like it at all. I think it's weird and just kind of, you know, whatever for me. And then here's The Woods by James Tynion, which I've heard has been going on too long, but I'm waiting for it to finish before I hop into these volumes here, so hopefully it's good. And yeah, so that is my trade paperback shelf. Almost done here, guys. Next up, we kind of have my Evan Dom shrine, or whatever you want to call it. Got all 4 volumes that he has currently out for his main series. So glad to own those. Here I have Terry Moore's Rachel Rising. This is a book I started yesterday. As you can see, I read all that yesterday. So far I'm liking it. Looking forward to seeing where it goes. I think I'm still too early in to make a overall decision on it. But yeah, amazing book. Self-published by Terry, and really glad to have that. And then, you know, kind of manga related here, we have Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind by Hayao Miyazaki. And then the final shelf here, my oversized editions. We have Oni Press's The Sixth Gun, Volume 1, Absolute Why the Last Man, which I know there's not a ton of extras in here, which has put a lot of people off from buying the Absolute edition, but personally, I couldn't care less about extras. So for me, I'm just glad to have one of the greatest comics of all time in an Absolute edition. I do plan to buy Volume 2 pretty soon. Here is Absolute Green Arrow. This is my first ever Absolute edition, or was, I guess I should say. But yeah, not the best thing I've ever read. I guess I'm not a huge fan of Green Arrow as the character. And the writing was pretty good as well, but overall it was just okay for me. And again, here are some more new pickups. I got Fear Agent 1 and 2, so I cannot wait to get into this. I got these for an amazing deal, considering their size and their weight and their quality. So props to Dark Horse for not charging a ton for these, because they definitely could have. But yeah, nice to have those. Here is Breath of Bones, kind of a thin book here that I really enjoyed. And then this is what I was talking about. I have the Oversized edition for Deadly Class. There's probably a name for this kind of edition, but I don't know it off the top of my head. And so far, this has been amazing. Truly one of the best things I've ever read. Deadly Class, I was not expecting that, to be completely honest, but yeah, it has blown me away. I have loved it so far, but yeah, nice to have this huge oversized edition. And I guess that's technically the collection here. I also have an Attack on Titan anthology, which is written by a bunch of American creators, and then a very small single issue, portion here that I just have some of my favorite covers that I haven't sold off yet here. So that's all this is here, nothing too crazy. But yeah, that is the graphic novel collection. Hopefully I didn't stumble over my words too much. I tend to do that on these longer videos, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them down below. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I'm InsidiousSwede, and until next time, take care.